Hey, check test. Hello, everybody. Hello once again. Welcome back. It's been a second since I've done one of these. I've been pretty busy. Been doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's probably been 2 weeks since I done one of these. Kind of got on here and talked about it. Maybe even 3 weeks. I don't even know. It's been a while. I can tell you that much. But yeah, it's been a pretty hectic, crazy month. June was pretty crazy. We had Angie B's daughter's wedding, and then we had pretty serious rainfall that flooded out. Well, I don't want to say flooded out the basement, but it was enough that I had to kind of take everything apart. As you can see, I'm moving stuff. I'm cleaning up the basement. Is what I'm doing. I'm gonna wind up getting rid of a lot of stuff. There's just it's a bunch of crap that I've been thinking about it for a while, and we've even though we're not going to move, we've been talking about moving, and I kept saying I just need to, we need to clean stuff out. It's what you got to do. It's just stuff. You're not really doing anything. I have boxes and boxes of stuff that I need to get rid of. Just stuff that I don't need, and yeah, I mean it's just stuff you don't need. Once you kind of get into this whole spiritual journey, that I've been going on, that we've been kind of talking about. Once you kind of take this journey, you start moving away from the material items more and more. And I'm starting to look around and look at stuff and say, yeah, I really don't need that. I really don't need this. I really don't need that. I really don't need this. I'm kind of going through it, kind of cleaning up. I'm taking my time doing it. I wasn't like a massive rush to get it done because, like I said, I thought we were going to be moving. I thought we were going to be moving in a month, but we're not. We're not moving. We're not. We've kind of sat back too long and just let it slide, and now it's like we're going to wind up getting stuck into another year in this contract with this house. So it is what it is. Anyways, I had to take a drink there. Um, But yeah, I'm back. We're here to talk about some more stuff. I've had a lot of stuff come around, a lot of stuff to think about. I got back into giants again. Was hunting down giants for a while there, uh, which led me into Native American history. What do we really know about Native Americans? Um, which that led me, of course, into the history of North America, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And it especially seemed to be coming up more and more because July 4th just passed. So, you had this whole, Independence Day thing on top of, me hunting giants and trying to find out Native American history. And it was pretty crazy. I had a lot of good stuff. I didn't write much of it down. Most of it was stuff that we've kind of talked about. I'm pretty sure. Um, there was a couple of people that I had wound up listening to. One of them, what was her name? Nancy Red Star, I think was her name. Um, she's Native American, and she had been tasked with going around to other Native Americans, talking to them about UFO phenomena. I guess is what it was, paranormal activity, UFOs, and stuff like that. And as she got into it, she started finding out more and more about stuff. And she's one of the ones that believes, like I do, that the Grand Canyon is something way more than we thought it was. There's the who's out there? Is it the Navajo? I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember exactly who it is. No, the Hopi. That's what it was. It's the Hopi Indians that have the legend that their their entire culture came out of the ground from the Grand Canyon. Now we've had. I'm sure we've had to talk about the the Egyptian artifacts and stuff like that that were found in the caves of the Grand Canyon. There's a lot of caves in the Grand Canyon that you just can't get to because they're restricted. Apparently, there's a couple of them that are restricted behind armed guards, which just sounds crazy to me. And most of these caves are on the side of a sheer cliff, about 600 feet up, and about well, the one guy said the other one's like 1,200 feet down off of the side of this cliff. So you can barely get to it as it is, but apparently there's somebody there. There's an armed guard there. It's very strange. But it was in 190 was it 1909? I think it was when they said that they had somebody go out there and this is stuff. This is from like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, seriously, this is just coming off the top of my head. But it was I can't remember the guy's name now. He'd gone in there. He was making a journey down the Colorado River, and as he was coming through the Grand Canyon, he saw some steps apparently on the side of the cliff, and so he decided to try to make his way up these steps. And he goes up in there, and he finds a cave that has Egyptian artifacts, has Buddhist artifacts, all these artifacts that just should not be there. I mean, we would be rewriting. Excuse me, a little burp. We would be rewriting the history books if we would actually talk about this stuff, but nobody talks about this stuff. So he goes in there and he finds all these things. He comes back out and then he tells the Smithsonian, which is probably not the best thing to do in the world. Smithsonian apparently goes out there and they spend 2 years out there. Is what I heard. I've heard up to 2 years. They spend 2 or 3 years out there, and after it's all said and done, nobody talks about it anymore. It just completely disappears. The Smithsonian denies that it ever happened. They deny that this guy that found this stuff was ever a real thing, even though this story was published in a newspaper. I mean, this story was published in a newspaper back in 1909, and it was like it was nothing. And then, of course, there's this whole thing. Everybody says, well, you can't trust the newspapers because back then they were making up stories to get readership. Which, man, you can buy that to a point. I don't know. I mean, yes, I understand that newspapers would do that, but so here's a weird thing. And of course, I didn't look any of this stuff up. You're going to have to go look this stuff up for yourself. Um, there was a couple different witnesses stories that I had heard. I'm going to call them witnesses because out of 2 or 3 witnesses, you can prove all things. That say that they found an article from 5 or 6 years before the one in 1909 that was talking about this guy starting this expedition in the Colorado River. So that leads credence to the fact that this thing was a real thing. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I haven't really searched that out. I've been listening to it more than anything else, and I saw the first article, that they were talking about. I didn't really get to see the second one, but yeah, somebody had it pulled up, and they were going through it, and so there's something to that. But the Smithsonian, like I said, they just completely denied it. There's just nothing there. Apparently, they do have stuff from the Grand Canyon, but it's from a completely different guy, from a completely different year, and I don't even know if they have it out on display. I'm sure they probably do. I don't know. I've heard some people say they have it on display at the Smithsonian. You can go see it. It makes me want to go to Smithsonian, but I really just don't want to go to DC. Even though at this point, going to DC with open eyes, I'd probably be able to see everything that's there, Because the only time I ever went to DC was in marching band in it was my sophomore year, maybe. I would say either my freshman or my sophomore year, high school. And we didn't really get to go anywhere. We just kind of, I mean, we went to the Capitol building and we went to the Jefferson Memorial and we went to the Washington Monument. Or not the monument, the Washington Memorial. We didn't go to the monument. We went to Lincoln's, but I don't remember going up into going up into seeing Lincoln. And we went to Vietnam Memorial, and then we went to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. We didn't go to the Natural History Museum. But if I went back there with open eyes now, I'd probably wind up shitting myself for all the stuff I'd be able to see. But it makes me want to go back there and see if they actually have this stuff there, because some people say that it's out there and some people say that it's not. Um, but I got into that for a while. Listening to that, and it kind of stemmed off of the giant trees. We've talked about the giant trees, Devil's Tower, things like that. And but one of the things they kept talking about during all this, the Native Americans in the Grand Canyon, they were talking about giants, and that was the the path I was on at the time. I was looking to get away from like the whole massive conspiracy thing, because there's just been a lot of stuff over the past couple months that I even said it somewhere along the line. I just need to take a step back, because it gets to you. It's too much, too fast, and it's just kind of, if you let it overwhelm you, it'll destroy your mind. So I was kind of taking a step back. But I said, you know what? Giants and flat Earth. Listening to that kind of stuff, listening to what the world could be, that that makes me feel better. So that's what I've been on. Especially lately with the flat Earth, man. I've been listening to a lot of Rob Skiba, listening to him talk about more about the he calls them the seed wars. You can call them that if you want. With the Nephilim and all the other stuff, we've kind of touched on that before too. I need to start like definitively sitting down and like making this stuff, writing this stuff out like I used to. I just don't have that kind of time anymore. The when I was doing that before, I had a job that I was allowed to take that second to write something down and have it, and then I was able to go to lunch or something and then scribble down the thoughts and everything. With this job that I have now, it's like rush, rush, hurry, rush, and then I wind up getting home. I've spent 12 hours at this place, and I'm just like, I'm dead and I'm tired and I don't want to do it anymore. I know that's no excuse, but it is what it is. But I'd gotten back into that, and started learning some interesting things, some new things. I need to start getting back into learning about Gilgamesh. Apparently, there was some stuff about Gilgamesh that I hadn't heard of. Some different things. I thought I'd listened to the Epic of Gilgamesh, but apparently there's stuff inside of it that I really need to get down to and really need to get into. You know, and there was something else too. There was what were we talking about? It was about a week ago, and something came up about a bull. Um, it was about Taurus. I'm putting connections together from stuff I just heard recently as well. It was about Taurus, and it was about, oh man, something being born underneath the constellation of Taurus. But that always makes me think of the Big Blue Ox. Paul Bunyan and Blue. Yes, there you go, Blue. But it always makes me think of that. And we've talked about that before, about how Paul Bunyan, the story of Paul Bunyan mimics the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu going through the forest to fight this guy that was hiding in the forest. And they're chopping down trees to get to this guy. And when Gilgamesh defeats this guy, he gets gifted a bull from the all high god, and then he kills this bull, or he fights this bull. And there was some other legend that popped up. Whoa, 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 where was it? some other legend that popped up where they were talking about. It was another. It might have been a Greek myth of a guy that fought a bull. He had to fight the world bull or something. I don't know what the hell it was. What was that? But as soon as it hit, I was like, "That's Gilgamesh. That's Gilgamesh right there. That's you know that's the man of many names." I don't know if we went into it about talking about how Gilgamesh and Nimrod were extremely similar. Nimrod is the one from the Bible, but Gilgamesh may be Nimrod. Nimrod may be, Apollo, which could be any number of, Paul Bunyan. I mean, come on now. If you're going to make the connections, you might as well make that connection. So it's just, and it's not, what's that word? Apostasis. I don't remember what the hell it was. We were talking about it yesterday too. So last night, I'm all over the place, guys. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Last night we were watching Glass, which is actually not a bad movie. I mean, it's pretty good. It really depressed me because it was. I'm not going to be able to find that. I'm going to wind up doing spoilers. So if you have not seen Glass yet, this is spoilers. I'm just sorry. It is what it is. If you haven't seen it, you can stop watching this video. You can keep going. For those that have seen it, hold on. I'm doing this. Trying to find out this word. I just saw the word the other day. Apophenia. There it is. The tendency to mistakenly perceive connections between two things that aren't really there. Yes, perceive connections and meaning between unrelated things. Um, Interestingly enough, the phrase only came about, this says in 1958, on the beginning stages of schizophrenia, which is interesting because we talked about 1958 around that time whenever the word conspiracy started going on the rise. Um, which is interesting because, 3 years later, Kennedy gets killed? Is that right? 61? I think about 64. Maybe 64. I don't remember. My brain's not working that hard right now. Sorry. It is what it is. I'm just surprised I remember this word. But that's what they would say. This word has started coming back around, is what I've heard a couple of people said. Because conspiracy theories, you're making connections that aren't there. Am I really making connections that aren't there? Can you really? Oh, my thing's fallen. Oh, but can you really not make the connections between that? I mean, it's a game of telephone. We've talked about that before. Gilgamesh has a story where he is going through a forest, chopping down trees as fast as possible, and he has a bull that gets gifted to him. Paul Bunyan is a logger. He's a giant, and he has a bull with him. He can fell trees in one swoop. That's Paul Bunyan. Are there not connections there? I don't, There's a story that I was talking about the other day that it was possibly Greek. I don't remember who it was, where it was a giant that was wrestling a bull. Is there not a connection there? Can we not see the connection there? I don't know. But anyways, all this stuff goes back to Glass. There we go. We're going back to Glass. So last night we were watching Glass, and for those that don't know, like I said, you're going to get spoilers. For those that do know, you know that they take these three guys, which are they're basically superheroes. Two of them are supervillains, but they have real powers. The Bruce Willis from Unbreakable, he has real strength, and he cannot be broken. Um, you've got the guy from Split who can turn into the beast. He has 24 different personas inside of his mind, and when he turns into the, and actually what was really interesting about that whole movie is that I even pointed this out, is when you watch the movie, when he goes from persona to persona, his clothes change. It's like they tighten and loosen. Like his body physically changes when he changes personas. And I kept pointing that out. I kept saying, look, his clothes are tighter there. Like whenever he'd go into the one muscle man, the one guy from the Bronx, whoever the hell it was, when he'd go into that, his clothes got tighter because the guy was a little bit more muscular. When he would go into the feminine side, I think her name was Patricia or whatever, the clothes loosened and they got more comfortable looking. She was very comfortable in her style. So, and there were other times too where he'd go into some of the other smaller personas, and his clothes got really baggy. And I kept thinking they're changing his clothes. They're making his clothes look bigger on him and smaller because he's physically changing with the personas. That's how it's working. So he flips over into this beast, and when he does this, his entire physiology changes. I mean, he gets bigger. They didn't show it very much in the movie. Once you actually stop the guy and put him on screen for a while, you see that he's not as big as he is, but he still looks like he's all roided out. So I kept saying that, so it's a physical thing. It's a real thing. And then, of course, Mr. Glass, with his brittle bones, he doesn't really have much. He just has his mind. But there's this psychologist, whatever you want to call her. Mind screwer, I guess. She's constantly trying to tell them that it's all in their head, that it's just not real. She's going through and saying that you can do this and do this and do that, but you're just making connections that aren't really there. You can, like Bruce Willis, he can touch somebody and he can have memories of or he can have flashes of the people that are doing bad things and stuff like that. And she said, but you're making connections that aren't there. You saw something on somebody and doing this and doing that, and it made me sick because it reminded me so much. And I know that's what M. Shamalama Ding Dong, M. Night Shyamalama, I call him in Shamalama Ding Dong. That's what he was trying to show, was this constant, we're going to push that it's all in your head, that you're not better than what you are. And that's what it eventually came out to, is there's this, spoilers, there's this secret society of people that are only there to keep the normalcy of reality. Like this woman, this psychologist was part of this group, and her main thing was to go and find these supers and try to convince them that it's all in their head, that you can't be better than what you are, that you're here, you're in this place, and you can't wake up to the reality of the world. You're just stuck. You're stuck in this place at this time. Don't wake up is what it is. It was almost literally like the Matrix, only in a different way. And it really sickened me to hear her talk. It really just bugged the shit out of me. She's like, well, that's all in your head. You don't know any better than that. How could you know that's what that is? You're just making connections that aren't there. And I'm like, oh God. It reminded me of being in school. And as you try to talk about things like we talk about Giants, when you try to talk about this kind of stuff, they're like, no, it's just a story time stuff. And that's what the main crux of the movie was too, is that they were saying that comic books were a way of saying that, there were people that had these superpowers. Now I know you could make this whole thing about, well, people don't have superpowers, that's just, but that's not the underlying point of the movie. The underlying point of the movie was that there is something more special to us that a lot of people really, really like to push down. They don't want you to make that connection that we are better than this. I've been having this major problem at work the past couple weeks where the more I go into work and the more I sit at my little stupid ass cubicle and the more that I do my stupid little scanning of all these papers so that they can move everything over to their electronic forum so that they don't have to have paper anymore, the more I think, what in the heck am I doing here? We're not made for this. And I keep hearing it over and more from other people, is that we're not made for this 9 to 5 grind. This isn't what we're made for. And they've made the system now, and we're kind of stuck in this system now that we can't get out of that. We have to play by their rules in order to be able to just go day by day. And when you try to break out of that, there's always somebody there that's trying to push you back in, trying to tell you, no, this is the way it is. It's all it has been. It always will be. I've had that so much in my life that resonated to me. It's rare. It's rare to have a movie that resonates like that. And I'll tell you this much too. There were very few of the tells that were inside of the movie. There weren't very. I mean, there were numbers. I'm going to tell you what. There were numbers in there. You could really find the numbers. But it wasn't like the whole movie was just flooded with them. Because I don't think M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, he's part of the system, I'm sure, but I think he's one of those that is just outside it enough that he can show you a thing or two, I mean, maybe he is. I don't know. I haven't gone into his past. I don't know what he does. Maybe he does all the hand signals and all the stuff. I don't know. If he's making movies like that, if he's making high budget movies like that, he's already a part of the system somehow, some way, some shape, some form. But that doesn't mean that he's like, embedded in the system. But they do give you stories like that to give you hope, even though it's not really hope. It's just another form of control. You give somebody. Oh, what was the other thing we were watching too? They were saying that giving people hope is better than giving them fear. What was that? But they said that was the reason why they were giving people a certain amount of space, a certain amount of stories that they could listen to, because it's hope. Hope will drive. Hope is more of a driving force than fear ever will be. I don't remember what that was. Something we were watching. It was either some movie or something else we were watching, but that was the thing that they said, and I was like, that's it. They give you just enough hope to be able to wake up the next day and think that you're going to be better. But in the end, it's just another form of control. That's all it is. It's just another form of control. This whole system is just control. And it's only there just to keep you down. Just to keep you at that point to where you think you could do better. And once you, excuse me, another little hiccup, a little burp. Once you get to that point where you can really start seeing the hope, they will either knock you down a peg or they'll bring you up into it. And that's what they do. 9 times out of 10, they'll just knock you down a peg, is what it is. Because honestly, the only way you're ever going to get up into anything is if you're part of the bloodlines. I've been listening to some of that stuff too, and sheesh. If you don't understand that you are not part of the group, you need to start looking into bloodlines. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, and I still stand by it. The whole marrying into cousins thing, marrying your cousin to keep the power in the family. That's how they do it. I know it sounds sickening to some people. It's like I can't ever marry my cousin. Shit, man, they'll come out with four eyes and 10 ears. And when you hear that the birth defects for marrying into your first cousins is only a 1% chance, you see that that is what it is. Now these hilljacks you hear about that are having sex with each other and doing that, I you have to look at their lifestyle. These people are drinking moonshine. They're up there drinking moonshine. I don't even think they're doing their cousins. I think they're doing their sisters. Some of them probably doing their own uh, mothers and fathers. And I don't even know if those stories are true. Man, I've been up in the hills. You don't see deformities like that. I mean, I'm sure they exist. I'm not going to say they don't exist. I'm sure they absolutely do exist. But you don't see that. I've been up in the hills with some hill jacks. I'm telling you that right now. My stepfather's family live up in the hills of Tennessee, and I didn't see that. So I don't even know if that's real. You don't know if that's real. That could be something that somebody made up. There are birth defects that come with interbreeding. I get that. The only reason that they started those tests was because apparently, supposedly, the royal family was starting to find birth defects. It doesn't seem like they're doing so bad right now because they're going in, they're marrying cousins. When what was the thing I was thinking about of the other day? When you find out that all of the United States presidents are related and the bloodline goes back to one guy, one king in England, and you don't think these guys are interbreeding inside of the family? I mean, are you kidding me? You find out that what was it? W. Bush was related to all these guys plus Princess Diana, and then you take a step back and you think, well, wait a minute. If Diana was related into the family, Diana, they pulled her specifically so that she could go into that family, so that the bloodline could keep going on. It's it. You just need to hear it. You need to hear it, and you need to understand it. You need to know where the bloodlines run, and then you can kind of stop and take a step back and think, yeah, that's something there. That's just not that apothecary. What was the damn name of that again? That's not just making connections. Epiphania. Epiphania. That's not just making connections. I can't just be making a connection. One of the big things I always say, I've said it. I've said it for years. I think it's one of the reasons why I was able to wake up as I have, is that I've said when one thing happens, when it happens one time, it's just a thing. It happened. It's a thing. When it happened twice, it's a coincidence. If it happens more than 3 times, it's a pattern. How many coincidences do you need to see before you start understanding what's going on? Before you can see the pattern? And that's something I've stuck by. And unfortunately, it got so bad, the coincidence I was able to put together, especially as a teenager. I don't even understand, because we didn't even have the internet back then. It was just, you'd be able to see that, this guy was doing this kind of thing and he's saying this. Well, sure enough, this guy over here is saying the same exact thing. And then you find out that they're partners in some way, shape, or form. And you're just like, how many coincidences do you need? And then you start getting to the point where you're like, well, I can't believe in coincidences anymore because these patterns seem to happen all the time with all kinds of different things. So that shoots that right out of the window. If it had, if it's at this point, I say if it happens once, it's a thing. If it happens twice, it's already a pattern because I don't believe in coincidences anymore. And that kind of drove me to a point to where I started seeing it more and more, and I think that's how I just was able to start seeing the truth. Not only did God eventually show me, just say, "Hey, look, you need to wake the hell up." Not only was it like that, but it was also, "Hey, look, I can already see the pattern here. I can already see the pattern there. I only need to see it happen twice. I can see the pattern." Now it's I see it. Now when I see it just out in the world, I'm like, there it is, right there. I don't need to see a pattern. I don't need to see it a second time because the first time I know what the hell they're doing because it's run on symbols. And I've talked about this before. I'm going to go into this in a lot more detail somewhere down the line because I really, really need to kind of put this together, especially for myself, just to refresh myself on the symbols. But especially when it comes to symbology, because they use symbology, man, everywhere. You can't get away from the symbols and the numbers. And I actually had a talk about this with some Facebook friends, and it was almost like they were trying to convince me that the numbers and the symbols don't exist. I mean, I'm sure I probably read past it. I probably didn't really dig into it, but it was like the numbers and the symbols don't matter and yada yada. And it's like, no, wait, let's take a step back. The numbers and the symbols do matter. The reason that they do matter is because they are using those numbers and symbols against us. It's not just that they're there and we can ignore them, because Angie B even said, if I didn't know that they were there, I couldn't give them my power. No. They are using them. They are putting their power into them to control you. Because if you don't know what that symbol means, they can use it against you. That's all information. If you don't know what the information is, they can use that information against you. That's what they've been doing now for over 200 plus years. I'm going to say even longer than that. It used to be that this stuff was out in the open. You read stuff. You read the Bible. This was another thought I had too. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, was that when you read the Bible, this stuff was out in the open. They would. I don't remember the story. Whoever it was that told the what do you even call them? The whores told the women of the tribe, whatever tribe it was, the bad guys. I don't remember who. I don't remember the exact details of the story, but he told the women to go into the children of Israel, and he said, just let them see how you worship our gods. And by that basis alone, they were able to turn the children of Israel because they just saw that it was, apparently it was either easier or there was something sexual going on there. And I'm pretty sure it's what it was because, sexual rituals, that's a thing. That's the blood sex rituals. I mean, if you saw somebody sacrificing a kid, you'd probably stay away from it. But if you saw somebody doing sex magic, you'd probably want to go towards it because that's a lust. I think it's probably what it was because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that blood sex magic, that ritual stuff that you see throughout history and throughout not only the Bible but Jasher. We talked about Jasher and how they talked about the 4 sex rituals that they would have each year. That's happened to coincide with the 4 holidays that we celebrate each year: Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. So that's a pattern. I'm sorry, it's just a pattern. That's not just my brain making that up. There's a distinct thing going on there. If somebody's talking, if somebody even remotely says, "Hey, you know, this could be a thing where they had these four things and they happen to line up, if they happen to line up with four big seasons, and then you find out that each one of those seasons happen to go back to some pagan ritual that they used to do, and you find out that those pagan rituals were the same exact thing that we used to do back then, and then you start hearing that people were automatically pulled into worshiping other gods just based upon the practices of what they used to do, and you think about the lusts of human beings. That's a thing. Now that's a profound moment right there. That you can take that, you can write that down, you can quote that all you want, because that's some pretty good profound moment stuff, right? That's the stuff I need to post on Facebook. Seriously, it's a thing. That's not just me making connections that aren't there. That's a thing. That's a divine inspiration. I got those hairs on the back of my head that I say, as my little inspiration hairs. That's a thing. You feel glorified about that because it's like you just put a truthful puzzle piece together. Because the truth, here's one for you. Here's a good one. Old Nancy Red Star kind of gave this one to me. The truth is a healing power. You get it? Do you get where I'm trying to go with this? And I'm just putting stuff together. I'm just trying to figure this out. That's the whole point of these conversations of me just talking, was I'm just trying to figure it. I'm not trying to sway anybody, even though I'm kind of trying to sway some people. I'm just trying to put it out there because it can't just be me. It can't just be all in my head. Someone else has to see it and understand it and believe it. Because if it's just me coming up with this stuff, then okay, I'm nuts. I'm crazy. Then fine. I need to get that out of my head because it's in my head and it's driving me crazy because I'm not supposed to be here. This is not the reality. First of all, it's not the reality I wanted. You can say that, and that's a greed thing. That's a greed that comes from inside of you that's like, I don't want this. I could be better than this. But it's not about money. I don't want to be rich and famous or anything like that. I just want to be left alone. I want to be able to make up my own mind and understand my own mind. In order to do that, you need the truth. And when you go hunting for the truth, you find out that there isn't any truth. Not much that this world offers. There isn't really that much truth because all you find out is they just feed you lies. What was the quote that one day it says, God, one day eventually the Gentiles will come to you and say that we have inherited the lies of our fathers. That's how I feel. I feel that we have inherited the lies of our fathers, that we are so far down into this hole that we just can't dig ourselves out. I mean, I hate to be black-pilled like that, but it just and I know people are trying. I listened to a woman yesterday. She's trying to wake people up, and I bless her and pray for her because she, hopefully you can get something, man. But as far as the rest of it's concerned, it's just we are so far down into it now that it's hard to know what's true and what's not true. All I can do at this point is to make those connections and see that those connections lead back to stuff that the ancients used to know. And when you go that far back, then you find out that the Bible talks about this. In other cultures, there's other books that talk about this kind of stuff too, but the Bible also says there is a deception in the world. And there's not many of the books that say that, you know? And when one book is getting everything right and everything else isn't getting everything right, that's where you've got to stop and draw the line and say, that's where I have to believe it. That's where I have to believe it because there's nothing else that seems to, nothing else fits. Everybody else is going to say one thing, and yet the Bible's over here saying everything. Everything. And the more I look into it, the more I read, I don't want to say read because I still haven't like sat down and read the book. The more I listen to the book, and the more I kind of put it together in my head, and the more I listen to commentaries about it, and I listen to several different commentaries. I don't just listen to one or two guys. I try to listen to all different sides. The more you delve into that, the more truth it keeps spitting out at you. And it just keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. And it's, you feel the truth. It's a healing power. It really, truly is. The truth does something to glorify you. That's the only thing I can think. That's the only word I can think of. It does something to glorify you. It does something to edify this life. To bring it all together. I don't even know if that's the right word to use, but it's just it brings it together. It makes sense. It makes it make sense, and then it you feel it. You feel it working. You just feel yourself just it. You feel a healing. It really is a healing power. You just feel healed, and I can't. It's hard to convey that to other people. You know, it's hard to try to convey that. Just say, look, it's a thing. Check this out. Check this out. This is a real deal. I can't. I can't. Those same friends that I was talking about, you know, they're. I've already said that all my friends, you know, they're on a complete opposite spectrum of where I am right now. And I used to be with them. I used to be that guy that you know I didn't really believe in anything, and um, if there was if there was a God, he was just a terrible thing. And you know, the Bible's just. I once called the Bible a WMD, which is just sickening to me now. Um, because I was like that. Because I believed in the world more than I believed in anything else, and it was what it was. But the truth, like I said, it just something clicked, and the truth came in, and it healed, and it's a healing power. And I feel so healed right now. Feel I don't feel messed up like I used to. I feel whole. It just it does something to you. Yes, I still get depressed. Yes, it still hurts to think that I can't wake people up to this stuff. Yes, it really really hurts that I can't talk to people about this because not many people want to hear it. But, you know, it does something to you. It does something to you. There was something else I was listening to as well. I think Rob Skeevel was talking about it, about the awakening, when the awakening happened. Um, Around 2010, 2012, when people really started waking up to this whole thing. Because you have to understand, for the past 7 years, there has been an awakening. People are starting to understand and open their eyes, and the world is really, really trying to push us all down. Um, they've been censoring and you know shutting people up and turning stuff off and putting these words back in apophenia, trying to get people to understand that you're just making connections that aren't there because it's just the way life is. Life is just going to keep going this way. It'll be just fine. No, no, no. It made me stop and think. He did this whole thing where he was able to do a date from you know from the time of something happened, and then there were so many generations or so many years or something until these people would be woken up or something like that. And it turned out to be like 2009, 2010, probably 2012. And the only thing I keep hearing is the Mayan apocalypse, and I'm sure somebody else has made this connection because nothing I do is original. Uh, but we know that apocalypse is not the end of the world. The word apocalypse, I think, was it Greek? It means a grand understanding, a grand reawakening of knowledge, is what the apocalypse is. So you have this Mayan apocalypse where it's the reawakening of an age of this enlightenment, and it's what it is. It's like it 2010 2010 was a big year, especially for me. I mean, personally for me, yes, it was, but 2010 for a lot of other people, it really waking people up. Um, and Rob Skeeby even says, maybe our calendars are 2 years off, because of the whole BC AD thing. I think our calendars are 150 years off. That's just me. I haven't sat down and tried to do all the math yet. I'll get to it eventually. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe we've just gotten to the point to where we can start seeing it, and now we have to start, pushing it. We have to keep getting that information out there. And I started getting really depressed. I was like, oh man, they're just going to censor everything. We're never going to be able to get the information out. We're never going to be able to talk to anybody and understand the new stuff because YouTube's taking down videos, and other video places are taking down videos now, and it's just going to be a nightmare and yada yada yada. But then I started thinking, you know what? For 40 years before the internet, the JFK conspiracy was a thing. How? The information got out there. So no matter what happens, the information will still get out there. The information's already out there now. We have enough copies of this stuff out in the world on hard drives, on paper, on all this information that I'm sure people have printed out. There's still that much information. If they shut down the internet, that information will still be there. And I still say that a physical copy of anything holds more power than anything on the internet ever will. A video has a lot of power, yes, but when you actually read something from a piece of paper, from a physical piece of paper in your hand, it's more believable. So it's there. It's going to be there. I'm not that scared of it anymore. Come at me, bro. I'm not worried. If this channel gets taken down, I'm not worried, and I don't think it will. I don't think the channel. From what I've been hearing, they've been letting some people back on. They've been remonetizing everybody because they can't just shut it all down. They tried to shut it all down, and they wound up losing $70 billion in the process. Seriously. You try to take conspiracies off the internet and you wind up losing $70 billion. Man, that's enough to start getting you thinking, So they can't get the information out. The information has to be out. There's some esoteric rule that says that there has to be some truth. I absolutely agree with that. There has to be truth in everything. You can't hide everything behind the wall. We have to know what you're doing, and that's where I started saying that's where movies started coming in. TV shows started coming in. They used to write this stuff down in books, but then the crap in the book started happening in real life. So they got lucky with television and movies, and they put this stuff in movies. That's why people say TV, or that's why people say that entertainment is more real than the news, because the news will report nonsense to you, but the movies show you the truth of what's going on behind the scenes, because there's an esoteric rule that says that they have to show you what's going on. And I think this stems back to, like I said, with the horrors going into the children of Israel and showing them. They used to do this stuff out in the open all the time. They used to do this stuff out in the open, and people used to go over to it because they thought it was, well, the hell, man, let's go do that. Let's go have some sex and worship some other god. It used to be out in the open all the time. But they found out that they couldn't do that because people started, Christianity started picking up and hitting. And it had to go underground. They had to move it underground. Not only did they move it underground, but they split parts of Christianity off to help it move underground. Even, what was it, the book of Jeremiah, I think, where they're talking about, oh, look at the temple, but you go downstairs underneath the temple, and sure enough, they're worshiping other gods. That's what's happening now. The book, it's crazy. The book tells you straight up. It says, this has been happening for years and years and years, and it's still going on now. You need to open your eyes and see it. Take that and quote me on that one too. That's in there. That's a good one too. Man, I'm on it today. Holy smokes. But they had to go secret. But they're still bound to that rule that you have to put it out in the open. And you go back into history in the 40s, the 30s, 40s, and 50s, especially the 50s. There were people that were still talking about secret societies. And they were being extremely vocal about secret societies. But that got squashed. For a long time, that got squashed. They really, really shut down the censorship, but it picked back up. Picked back up in the 70s and 80s. Because by the 90s, I was hearing about it again. So this information's always going to be there. And we're not going to lose this stuff. It's going to be there. We're going to have to figure out other ways of getting it out, so we don't have to worry about it. But they put it out there. They put it out there and right in the open. That's why they say when you hear the words hidden in plain sight, that's what that means. That means that what they're doing is right there in plain sight. And if you can't see that what they're doing is evil, I don't know what to tell you, because what they're doing is evil. And it doesn't make any sense. Is it going anywhere here? Am I making any sense here at all? I know I've jumped around like 50 different topics here, but it there's some gems in that, that's, I don't know what else to say. What else? I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It just is what it is. I thank God that he points me in these directions. And I thank God that he's still with me. I during this whole couple months, I fell back a little bit into some stupid, sinful ways, and thankfully he's come back, or he's let me come back to him, and I've come back to him on my knees, and I said, "Thank you, Lord. Keep showing me the right way, the right path." And every day he shows me something new. And I know I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Every day it's something new, something different, something to see. And so I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep trying to figure it out, trying to put it together, because it's there. It's not, we're not making this stuff up. It's just trying to put the puzzle pieces together and make it work. Just try to figure it out. I just want the truth. That's all I want. Truth. The truth is a healing power. The truth is a healing power. I can't say anything more than that. It is a healing power. You can feel it. And for those that don't want to hear it, and for those that have heard it and understand it, Jesus Christ said he is the truth, the light, and the way. The truth. He is the truth. Period. He said it. Full stop. Period. Whatever you want to say. Um, he is the truth. The truth is a healing power. I don't have anything else to say about that. I just that's so. Thank you guys for watching. I know these get a little weird. I need to start structuring these better, but like I said, I just don't have time. It's nice just to be able to sit and talk, though. I think I got a lot out. I think I really did. I think I touched on a lot of the points that I've been thinking about for the past 2 weeks. Believe me, I've been thinking about this stuff for 2 weeks now. It's been going on for a while. So I will try to do more of these, and we'll come back in. We'll try to put all this stuff together. You know, just try to figure this out. If it helped you in any way possible, then good. If it didn't help you in any way possible, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. I'm trying to reach those with the ears to hear. That's I'm trying to reach everybody, of course, but for those with the ears to hear, hopefully this will do something for you. So, anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. That's I don't even know why I say that. I'm going to stop saying that at this point because it's just stupid. Until next time, I wish you all well in all your future endeavors, and I hope that the world lasts for you. God bless you guys. Seriously, God bless you. Take care, and remember, the truth is a healing power. Jesus Christ is the truth, the light, and the way. Amen. All right, see you guys later.